Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinion on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello. Yes, good evening.
Hello, Kyle, and my really squeaky chair. Apparently, I'm going to sit still today, which is hard for me. You know,
I know you get so excited, Lewis, like to jump
I
up,
know, I know. I mean,
almost like an ape swinging from the rafters.
yes, almost. I mean, it's the day to be
Yeah.
excited, Kyle. Finally cashed out on my AMC days.
No,
Uh,
no, no. Let's not even start. It was a very
yeah,
stressful few hours for Lewis and me earlier today.
yes,
Well, not even for me,
yeah.
actually, just for you.
Mm. Just, I don't know why you were getting tense or
I, I'm, I'm,
about
I'm unemployed.
that.
It's like I'm like that kind of kid. There's like that one random unemployed friend on a Tuesday, and it's me
Yeah.
like sitting on my screens going like calculating the AMC stock for you, literally me today. So yeah,
Thankfully, after months of being in, I finally got out and can breathe a sigh of relief from that. But look,
yeah,
this is a stock financial podcast. We're going to be talking movies, and look, because we talked about the Planet of the Apes franchise last week, we have now seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and we're going to give a full
yeah.
spoiler-free and spoiler-filled review for that film. We will leave time codes below so you know exactly where to stop and start. If you
We
have not seen the
will.
film and are
Yeah.
interested, yeah, we will.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for that because I'm doing the YouTube. I will now remember to do that because I would have just gone
Well, no,
fully.
well, I always when I do the Spotify, I always leave it on the
Ah,
Spotify
that's
if I do
true.
spoilers
Yeah, but see,
beforehand.
my fine thing's a few seconds out because of the intro and outro, but that's fine.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's
Well,
too
just have to adjust
complicated for you, Lewis. It's
it.
understandable.
I wouldn't understand. Yeah, so let's jump right in now.
Yeah,
To preface this, we are going to be spoiling the previous reboot trilogy because we kind of have to. The very beginning of this film does that.
yeah, we do.
So if you have not seen Rise, Dawn, or War for the Planet of the Apes, uh, listen to our show last week if you're interested to hear your thoughts about them, and go watch those films if you want to see this one because we're going to be spoiling them with this. So yes, the very beginning of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I should say. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was directed by Wes Ball this time. Matt Reeves is no longer part of this franchise and was written by Josh Friedman as well. So yeah, this film begins with the funeral of Caesar, he who died at the
Yeah,
very end of War for the Planet of the Apes. His time is over, and we sort of get this huge cremation of him with his big symbol that was, of course, his window as a child, and all the apes symboling apes together strong. We then jump, as the film says, many generations later, although I think it's confirmed it's been about 300
300
years.
years. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
said outside of the movie in like
Mhm,
press junkets that it's 300
mhm.
years.
I don't know why you just wouldn't put that in. Anyway, so yes, many generations later after the trilogy, we now see Earth overgrown and now settled with ape clans. And the film opens with Noah, who's played by Owen Teague, and his friends Lake, sorry, played by Francis Berry, and Enea, who's played by Travis Jeffrey. They're ascending this skyscraper to obtain eagle eggs because for their clan, eagles are a massive part of hunting
Yeah.
and gathering food, and they're gathering these eggs for a big ceremony the next day. But then when we return to the clan, we sort of get a bit of acquainted with this world and this village. Um, there is a human following Noah. It seems they talk about this person who seems to be tracking them down, and they've kind of gone to the valley beyond, and we do not know what is in the valley beyond. But then an accident happens. Noah's egg gets crushed, and obviously in a way he has to go find another one. But in doing so, he finds a new ape clan going to take his village, and in doing so, destroys his village. And now he must seek out who has done this to his clan. And that is all I'll say about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Kyle, what did you think? What are your overall thoughts on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Right, yeah, okay. So it's a bit more of
Mm.
one to break down this time round. I
Yes.
enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's a
Okay.
bad film. I definitely say it's on the
No.
good spectrum. Like
Right.
everything considered.
Hmm.
There are some issues that we've obviously discussed kind of previously outside the podcast, which we'll
Hmm.
get more into when it kind of goes into the spoilers. Um,
Yes.
but
Yes.
what I do like about this film is I
Hmm.
like the time spent with Noah. I really do feel that we're like, they've said that they wanted this new Ape franchise to be 9 movies, and that this is the
Hmm.
fourth out of that 9.
Oh, right. Okay. So the reboot trilogy
Yeah,
counts as the
the
first three.
reboot.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have 5 more. So possibly 3 sets of
Mhm.
3, maybe if I don't know if they're gonna do
I
a
this
Star
when they
Wars.
said that when they said that, I imagined we had the modern day timeline, jumping 300 years, and then the seventh film, I guess, will be a remake of Planet of the Apes. That's kind of what
Well,
I'm thinking
the original
is what they
Planet
do.
Apes is like the year 3000. So
Oh right, so it's real. Well, I just presumed that's kind of where it was
that's
going.
like
They'd
that's like
remake Planet of the
another
Apes.
700 years after where we are right now.
Right.
So
Okay. Mhm.
could be that they do that kind of jump. Anyway, yeah.
I
So
presumed they'd do that. Yeah.
yeah, I was excited. I enjoyed the kind of setup we had with Noah. I kind of enjoyed
Hmm.
him as a kind of character. I
Hmm.
think that a discussion he has of a certain character later on in the ending of the film, I was actually kind of really
Hmm.
interested because like, right, okay, I I feel this might be kind of a switch of what we kind of felt with Caesar and his trilogy, and that we might be
Hmm.
getting a whole kind of different morality system with how apes perceive
Hmm.
other creatures in this new timeline. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed the orangutan, Rafa, that we got.
It's Raka. Yeah, Raka's
Raka,
great.
Raka, sorry.
Mm.
And obviously we'll kind of talk more about his character and his kind of story in spoilers because I don't want to give too
Mm-hmm.
much away. The villain, Proximus, um,
Proximus is good. I like Proximus.
I
Needed more
thought
of
he
him.
was, yeah, we need more of him.
Mm.
I really enjoyed him. I thought the actor behind him, whose name, Kenneth Duncan,
Kev, that's
Kevin,
Kevin Durand.
Kevin
Kevin
Durant,
Durand. Yeah,
so close.
he looks like Elon Musk, but cooler and more built.
He, I looked at him and I
Mm.
was like, why
Mm.
do I know you? And it's because I was been doing the X Men rewatch for Deadpool,
Mm.
and he's
Mm.
Blob in X Men Origins.
Is he? Is he Blob? All right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
just didn't know why I recognized
Yeah.
him. I
That's
was like,
crazy.
I swear to God.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, story wise, it's not
Mm.
as what I was expecting when you got a title as Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. When we
Yes.
started
Yeah.
that film and we were, like you said, we're introduced to this clan that are very ego raising, I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, that's cool. So
Hmm.
this is suggesting there's going to be maybe multiple different types of clans that have kind of adapted to their situation and where they live and what are we going
Hmm.
to kind of get from that.
Hmm.
Wherein, and uh, the actual kingdom that we do see isn't really much of a kingdom, more of a
Yeah. We'll
settlement
get to.
or a
Yeah.
temporary camp because of
Hmm.
something that Proximus is after. So I wasn't
Hmm.
really getting the kind of kingdom vibe that I was expecting from this film. And
Yes.
all the kind of
Yes.
visuals we were showing. It's great that you have this kind of post-apocalyptic standard where it's like, yep, everything's kind of very Last of Us,
Hmm.
where you've got the old buildings, but they're all kind of green and overcome.
Mm.
But I'm like, you're
Yeah.
not.
Really
Nobody's
overgrown.
using that. I'm like, I, I was expecting a wee
Yeah.
bit more.
I think well, I'm going to jump off that because this
Yeah.
this was a problem for me as well. I think from a world building point of view, I think that it feels oddly small because we're now in the future. There should be 8 clans, colonies, and kingdoms, and we see 2. And it's not just the number; it's just when you even get to Proximus's kingdom, you see it. He talks about look at my kingdom, and he shows it from this viewpoint. But we never go
It's very
into it. We never see how
no.
society works. We never see how like trade works, or
He's got
shops, or farming, or
he's
anything
got
like
some sort
that.
of
Um,
crown, but I'm like, what are
yeah.
are you're not a king? There's a
Uh-huh.
very
And
there's a very
uh-huh.
funny thing we could discuss later about
Mm.
what he may view of everything that I don't know
Mhm.
if that's even connected because they don't even talk
Yeah. Yeah.
about that. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but when we get into spoilers, you will understand what I
Uh-huh.
mean. But then
Yeah.
I was
I think
yeah.
yeah, sorry, no, go on.
No, one thing that I was kind of really bummed that
Mm.
I saw this with my girlfriend that she was a wee bit kind of annoyed with.
Mm.
It's still set in like Western America because
Yes.
of we see like a
Yeah.
coastline and how everything's laid out, and you do see almost.
Mhm.
I'm guessing it's is the remains of the Golden Gate Bridge out in a scene.
I thought so. I couldn't tell if it was
Yeah,
that or just like a like a when you have them kind of a bit off the shore, those kind of big
yeah.
freight carrier things.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was
I
that.
think
I
it
couldn't
just
really
cause it
tell.
was a couple of bits. It looked like kind of remnants
Mhm. Mhm.
of a bridge. And I remember she was a bit like I was expecting to like venture out a bit more
Move
and be
out. Mhm.
like how about we go to somewhere
Mhm.
maybe like East Coast, not even East Coast, because I guess that
Mhm.
the issue is
Yeah.
that the way that the apes in the US are obviously going to learn
Mhm.
English because that's the one that they've been
Mhm.
exposed to, and that's how because of
Mhm.
Caesar knew English and how
Yeah.
he deliver the language. But obviously, you can't really go to France because then they're all going to be speaking French. I'm guessing.
Well, no, I wouldn't expect it to be a global thing, but I know what you mean because the original Planet of the Apes takes place on the East Coast, and we're
Yeah,
still here on the West Coast. We've been spending all our time in,
I'm
like
like, let's
California
get, can
area.
we get
Yeah.
a wee bit?
Mhm,
It'd be really great to see like thing like
mhm,
even if it's more harsher conditions, like even like
mhm,
Colorado or how they're
mhm,
surviving and adapting. Because one of the things that was always very interesting in how we discussed at the end of War was that they brought
mhm.
in Bad Ape to have clothes on because they're like, well, eventually they do start wearing clothes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been a wee bit. I get like East Coast where it's sunny and it's warm and there's really no reason
Mhm,
for the apes to actually wear clothes even at this point. I just wanted
mhm,
a bit more for an expanse because
mhm.
we get teased about this huge world, but we get so
Mhm.
little of it.
That's I think that is a big issue for me, and it's interesting that Wes Ball is going on to do a Legend of Zelda film, which kind of has me concerned for that part, where I think one of the weaker elements of this is sort of showing where we are now 300 years later, and even like stuff with Caesar, which we'll get onto later on. But yeah, I think it's a mixed bag for me. It feels there is good ideas going on here. Noah, like you said, really engaging lead, someone, a proper kind of classic hero type archetype, that you kind of want to get behind. Really liked him as a lead character. Like we said, Proximus and Raka not utilized enough as characters. I Especially because the marketing really hinges on Proximus's character.
Yeah,
I
it,
just think that, and he is his ideology and his reign and sort of what he's learning and his dynamics with other characters, which we won't spoil here. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty interesting. Why have you only shown up halfway through the film? Why did we not get to you quicker?
Lewis,
And I
Lewis,
think, mhm,
Lewis. Sorry, keep talking. I need to go
mhm.
and let my dad into the house. You just keep talking.
Okay. I'll try my best and talk to a wall. But yeah, it's weird. Proximus is probably one of the most interesting characters in the film. And then you get to this
Sorry,
you
I'm
get to the
back. Yes,
human element.
my sister's letting
You've
them in
done
the
okay,
house.
that's great.
Apologies.
Oh great, I
Yeah,
was
go
just about to
ahead.
move on. I literally I was rambling on and I realized I'm moving on to a different point, but I've no one to respond to.
It's
Um,
okay. I'm here.
But
I'm
yeah,
here.
I was just saying about Proximus how I really thought he was underutilized, and then you get the human element of the story, which I kind of thought although the trailers obviously they talk about humans, and in this one they talk about humans as being like bull or just like random mammals that roam about
Like
or are idiots,
antelopes, kind of, very
antelopes and stuff, and it's
skirmish.
like, oh, this character May, who's played by Freya Allen, is smarter than other humans, and I was like, okay, we're kind of doing something interesting with that. But then where that kind of leads, which we'll get into
Hmm.
in spoilers, is something that causes concern for the future of this is going. And it's just, I do feel like it's because we went from Rise and then we went to War, to Dawn and War. And I
Yep.
think the switch up from Rise to Dawn was such a big leap in terms of story, character, visual, cinematography. Every aspect of filmmaking was simply better in Dawn. That I feel like we're kind of going back to Rise,
I
even
think,
visually
I think
speaking.
we plateaued almost at dawn.
Yeah,
As I
yeah,
was saying
and
that
uh,
with with a more advanced
mhm,
post-apocalyptic world, there's
mhm,
less sets for
mhm.
being built. There's more
But they do have there
CGI
is
that
plenty of
goes into it.
sets in the film, and you can film so much. I mean, so much. Dawn. Obviously, we talk about the visual effects of the apes themselves, but the amount of environmental visual effects in both War
Yeah,
and Dawn, like War was shot, with that as entire prison set thing going on. Like the entire, sort of overgrown buildings of San Diego and Dawn, and
yeah.
entirely visual, all visual effects. So, it's not even that. I think the cinematography itself lacks the sort of, it doesn't look as real. It's sort of desaturated. It has that white overwashed thing, which I hate, which a lot of modern films do. And I just like it just doesn't feel as authentic as what Matt Reeves's world had made. And look, yeah, obviously you talk about we had real world things to go off, but even still, I'm just talking about the way the film is shot
No, I
with by cameras, and even the visual effects in the apes. If somehow when you get close-ups in things like War, they are just so tangible and real, but the close-ups of the apes feel a bit more fake
no,
here. And
I
personally speaking, from what I
I
see.
no,
Mhm,
I do agree. I do.
mhm,
I do think that the CGI was a step down. I say step down, right? This is hard
Mm.
because I still think the CGI is great in comparison to some other big blockbuster CGI
Yes,
we have seen,
absolutely. Yeah,
which
it's
is
good.
why I'm trying to not say it's bad. I'm just saying, in comparison to other
Mhm.
Apes films, I do think it is a step down. And here's the thing: I wonder if this is going to be almost like a retelling where Rise,
Mhm.
directed by one director, you're like, oh,
Rupert
it
Wyatt,
was
yeah.
yeah, Ripper Wright,
Mhm.
it was okay,
Mhm.
and then the next two are maybe directed by somebody else because Wes
Mhm.
Ball's obviously meant to be going off and doing
Wes Ball
Zelda.
is moving on. Wes Ball is
So
moving on, yeah.
it may be a sense that like this is also what I said to you, where I'm like, maybe when I look back on this film, I will
Mhm.
understand it more in the context of
Mhm.
Dawn and War. I guess if you watch Dawn and War, you would understand the story, but then you watch Rise and you're like, oh, right, okay, I get a bit
Mhm.
more of the
Yeah.
context of the story. Not
Mhm.
extremely necessary, but it adds that wee
Mhm.
bit. You watch Rise
Yeah.
after and you're like, oh, yeah, no, it helps. It helps push
It
the
adds
trilogy as a
nuances
whole.
to to
So
to
maybe,
Caesar's character.
maybe
Mhm.
Kingdom will be the same in
Mhm.
this new
But I
trilogy. I
think the
don't
difference
know.
I think the difference is though I think Rise works as a conclusive film. Like if they never made Dawn and War, that works on its
You
own.
could fill in the gap between till the 1960s
Absolutely,
film.
yeah.
Right, yeah,
You can
yeah.
fill the
I
gap
get what you mean.
for the next 1,000 years practically because of where Rise leaves off. You don't. And then the jump to Dawn, like you were saying, Dawn. You don't actually really have to watch Rise, although you get nuances as to why Caesar cares about humans. But that's about it. Um, with this feels like one of those. This is a setup for a bigger
Yeah.
saga, and like you don't have to do that. You don't have to. And I know this has become a modern way of looking at things and looking at the bigger picture. But I'm like, just look at the film by itself. That's just it's not
Yeah.
you shouldn't do that. You
And
shouldn't do that.
and
There's a
for
way to
me
conclude your film and lead on to more. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you don't need
for
to
me
do that. Mm.
a lot of it lies in the ending reveal,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
where I
Okay.
feel the
Well.
biggest divide comes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's
We'll
jump
just
into.
leave
Let's
that.
give our scores and then we'll go into spoilers. Okay. What are you giving Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
I'm gonna leave it at 7. I still came out
Okay.
enjoying the film. I
Mhm.
was not,
Mhm.
I wasn't let down going, "Ah, that was, that was terrible." Did it live up to the hype? No,
Mhm.
but I wasn't
Mhm.
disappointed, and it's not. I'm now kind of a wee bit more intrigued for what they're gonna do in the future. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna leave it at a kind of
Mhm.
7, a nice 7.
Okay. Okay. I'll go one lower. This is we're copying last week. I'm going to go one
I
lower than you. I'm
know.
going to give it a 6. Look, Noah, a great starting character for whatever saga they've got here. I think he is a good character. Like I said, Raka and Proximus really like them. Underutilized though, and there is some interesting ideas, about the misinterpretation of history and like what we take from it.
I
I don't
love
think
that.
that's really gone into enough, but and obviously I've said all my complaints already there about the all the this kind of baggage and that we needed to get to these things quicker and it's oddly paced and we'll get to the ending. So let's just talk about the ending. So
Well,
spoilers now.
yeah. Do you know what's
Uh,
right? I'll tell you
uh,
something. See, for the
uh,
entire film, right, I was sitting there, I was
mm,
going, if they do not explain why
mm,
Maeve is so smart and can talk and everything,
mm,
because you see her, oh, sorry, she can talk. You see her
mm,
and she's in normal clothes, right?
mm.
Normal-ish
The no,
clothes.
the clothes. I'm just like, surely those clothes would have rotted
Yeah,
away after 300 years. She's wearing like
exactly.
normal shoes as well, but whatever. Hmm.
And I was like, they have to explain it, or if they don't explain it, I'm gonna be
Hmm.
pissed. And they explained it,
Hmm.
and I went, I wish they didn't. Like that's how it's like.
Okay, so the entire kind of plot in the film hinges on Proximus opening this big vault door, which hosts, technology and books, and most importantly, human weaponry, tanks and guns.
Yes.
Um, Maeve obviously still believes in humanity sort of restoring itself, and because it's our world, we need to sort of go back to that. So she wants to obviously make sure that Proximus and the apes don't get it, and so does flood the entire thing,
And I
almost
mean,
killing
she
a
was,
bunch of
yeah,
apes.
like,
Uh,
you think she's got this kind of friendship with
mm,
Noah, but when it kind
yeah,
of comes down to the line, she's willing to
she
kind of
won't.
get those apes out of the
Yeah,
way.
that's something okay. I did like that as well with Maeve. I like the sort of character twist on her too, that you can't trust her.
And even
But
at
then
the end,
even at the end, when Noah finally gets his clan back together after defeating Proximus, who might still be alive, he then
I
goes
think he
back.
is. I think there was an
Yeah,
end credit scene.
Was there an
No,
end credit scene?
there was end
There was
credit
a laugh or
audio
something.
where
Audio.
you
Okay.
hear Raka's laugh and Proximus's laugh.
Okay. Well, we'll get to them. But Noah has rescued his clan. Is now going back to rebuild his village, and May gives him one last visit and has a gun behind her back as if she's going to kill Noah. Um, Noah still kind of believes that maybe humans and apes can one day live together. May, we find out, goes back to this big, radio satellite area and is sort of reconnecting the human world together. Now, Kyle,
Right.
you and I think. Right, you start.
Oh,
You're you,
can
you're
I
you're urging to speak here.
can I just get
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the Twitter, I've seen people's theories, and I'm gonna
Okay.
talk. I mean, Lewis will
Yeah.
back me up here because he understands film. There's a scene
Mm-hmm.
earlier in the movie where
Mm-hmm.
when Noah was a bit kind of like he believed in what's the girl's name again? Not she's not called Nova,
May.
but it's May.
May.
He
Mm-hmm.
believed in her because he was like, the look in her eyes when she looked up into the stars is the same as mine, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
connection. That's where his kind of belief
Mm-hmm.
of there could be something here that we can live together.
We can work on it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so when it comes to the end of the movie, and Maeve arrives at this human bunker where everybody's alive and talking, I'm like, well, this is people don't understand how time works. But and genetic diversity. Let's just, I mean, 300
Okay.
years isn't that bad to be fair, because a
Mm-hmm.
lifespan. But the book that would let humans talk, which was basically a satellite array, talking to Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
Indiana,
Important information for everyone.
important
Indiana.
information. The amount of people going,
Mm-hmm.
they're speaking to the astronauts. I'm like, right. She's like, I don't think so. No, because they were all looking up at the stars. I'm like, no, because he took his girlfriend there and saw the look in her eyes, and he's like, shit, it is the same look, because he only saw it from he saw May's perception of it. He could only
Uh-huh.
suspect what his own was, but he's now seen another
Mm-hmm.
apes, and he's like, shit, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same. That's what he
Yeah.
was seeing. It's not they were looking up
Mm-hmm.
the space. It's like, oh, there's an international space station. There's people living on it. That's not how
Yeah.
it works. So that's what I mean. When I saw the music video, oh, it's the astronaut. I'm like, lads, we're not. As I said to Lewis, it's like maybe the astronauts are going to come back in the next one and do what? What will they do against apes? You saw the original. They did fuck all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's so
Yeah.
daft. I mean,
Mhm.
go on, kids. Keep theorizing, but you're just so
Yeah, I
dumb.
mean, but the thing is for me is that I don't really know what there is left to explore with the human ape conflict
It
because that's
was
clearly
done
what
so well in Dawn and War.
it's we did. That was the entire
Oh,
point of that trilogy, was to explore the conflict and sort of like they even mention it in the opening title cards, the opening information in the film, where they say humanity's hubris ended up destroying itself. That's what that trilogy was about. It was about the downfall of humanity through prejudice and our own arrogance, right? And our own need to sort of try and go against nature. Woody Harrelson talks about it in that film. Anyway, sorry. So we had 7 hour plus, if you add them all up, 7 hours plus talking about that entire theme,
yeah.
and I explored it so well. I don't know what more they want to do with it because there's no need.
This,
Matt
you
Reeves
know,
did it and Rupert Wyatt did it. Don't bother. There's no need.
this is a
Move on. Mhm,
I'm convinced it is because
mhm,
these studios are paranoid that if they do an all apes or exclusive film,
mhm,
it won't do as
mhm.
well. Like,
But
I genuinely think that's the issue.
this film is literally living proof. Okay, you can make the argument for the previous trilogy. You had, Woody Harrelson, you had Gary Oldman, and you had James Franco, kind of like those kind of leadish. I knew Jason Clarke, but Jason Clarke's not really a big household name, even though he's been in really big films.
And he's amazing.
Sure, and he's amazing. And you have those big names, but this doesn't have a big name in any human capacity. Like, no one knows who the actress who plays May is, Frey Allen. And okay, you have William H. Macy, but he's not even in the IMDb. He's not in any of the marketing, and he's not exactly a big household name. So
I don't
I
understand
don't
why.
really.
You could just pretend he's an
Uh,
ape. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna be spoilery. I mean, I did like that annoyed me as well because they didn't know
Mhm,
each other, and I'm like,
mhm.
so what? I thought you guys were from the same
Mhm.
secret underground like cave? I'm a bit confused
Mhm.
here. And I'm also a bit confused. I'm like, right, are all these people in the underground cave, are they immune or are they
Mhm.
just hiding?
Maybe
And is
the
she
virus is
it
kind of, yeah, I don't know what's
yeah,
going
I
on with the
don't
virus
know.
anymore. Mhm.
It left me with too many more questions. Where
Yeah.
you end every
Yeah.
single one of the Rise, Dawn, and
Mhm.
War, you're like, I could
Mhm.
justify it. I could see what could happen if there was never another one.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know?
and look, I thought the Maeve character would be kind of just like there is just an intelligent human character that who kind of helps them out or can just kind of, I don't know, be someone, be a part of the apes and stuff. But I didn't really. I was like, really, 300 years in the future, most of
Yeah.
the Earth's been wiped out by this virus. And now the apes are dominant. We know how this ends, guys. Like, we're so. And it's not even like, okay, you have the dramatic impact of like the early days where we had Dawn and War, where humanity was still kind of big and around. We're so far in the future. Like, it's over. Like, come
I
on. Like,
know.
there's not really any stakes here. And
I
also.
yeah.
Mhm. I
I would have
thought, sorry,
loved.
I just
Oh,
thought
sorry. Go ahead.
I was thinking this is the sort of point in the timeline or the saga where you can really explore the multiple clans and ideologies of different
Yep.
ape
Yep.
kingdoms and regions, and the conflict would be about
Yeah.
how do the apes unite and come together now.
Oh, mate, the conflict
Forget
could
the
just be about
humanity.
how well. I don't think we've talked
Uh,
about the perception of Caesar in the past, because
yes, yeah, there you go.
the whole
Mm,
trilogy could be on. So
mm,
the best thing which I found hysterical is that
mm,
when we meet Raka, he's like, yep, see, he's wearing the symbol of the house of his window, and I'm like, God,
Of
guy,
Caesar's
that
window,
one
yeah.
guy that designed that window, and it's just constantly there. And
Mhm,
he's talking about Caesar's rules of ape ape together strong, ape don't kill
mhm,
ape, all the kind of
mhm,
rules and his sayings, and then you're kind of like, especially seeing the first
mhm,
kind of 20 minutes or so when
mhm,
Noah's village gets attacked, and then they're all
mhm,
yelling for Caesar. I was sitting there going,
mhm.
"What the shit? Like, what?
Oh, yeah,
Caesar wouldn't
exactly.
want this.
Mhm.
Like that actually could
Yeah.
have said." I was a bit like, "Oh, right,
Oh,
okay,
what we do with
right.
this? Yeah.
This is a bit bizarre." And then we introduced to Proxima Caesar, who kind of gets possibly slightly confused because William H.
Yes.
The humans goes like, yes, I've been reading him books, and
Mhm,
he's really obsessed with Roman history, and
mhm.
unless you're really paying attention to that line because they don't go
Yeah.
anything further into it, and you
No.
know that there's a certain Roman general called Caesar. I was like, my girlfriend was like, I think it's hilarious that that monkey has gotten confused with who Caesar is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, and there's never
there's
clarification of
never
what, Noah's,
clarification.
Caesar, and
He
Proximus is Caesar.
genuinely, Proximus Caesar could genuinely
Mhm.
think he was believing that
Uh,
the Roman general Caesar was
mhm.
that Caesar. There's
Yeah.
no clarification, and I got off an act where we were like, that is possibly brilliant because, like you said, it's the
Uh,
misleading of history, and you've got these
mhm,
two separate sides that technically have the
mhm,
same prominent figure, and they're
mhm.
both on completely different ends of the spectrum of how they're.
Yeah.
Yes, Proxima Caesar does still do that, apes together strong, but there could
Mhm,
still be some like, oh, maybe there's a bit of that there, a bit of that
mhm,
there. You can have a whole trilogy of the kind of this basically being the apes uniting
mhm.
under one sort of
Yeah.
kind of governing body. I mean, I would need to rewatch the original Planet of the Apes and see if that is like, but I'm pretty sure there's a whole council and there was like an
Yeah,
elected
there's a
body.
council, there's scientists and intellectuals, and they seem like a pretty united force.
Uh-huh.
And
I would
that's
love the idea, and especially the
Mhm,
whole thing that they've stomped at intelligence. They need
mhm,
these pre-virus artifacts and pre-virus
mhm,
knowledge to get
mhm.
them a boost, right? Because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just maybe like caveman level, but they, because of
Mhm,
the history, they know that there's all this technology
mhm,
there. I'm
mhm.
like, you've got a sound storyline there, but you
Yeah.
went, nah, let's rehash what we did in the last few films, and
Yeah.
let's make this a bit more
Mhm.
complicated.
Yeah,
Fucking dumb.
but you come to with that, you also come to this sort of great conflict because you have the character like Raka who believes in Caesar and his teachings. Which, by the way, like I said, we need more of Raka because he apparently dies in this one, even though he won't actually be dead.
Where's the
Um,
body?
yeah, because I was like Raka kind of needs to be here in order for the Caesar teachings to kind of go on
Uh-huh.
because he seems to
Because
be the
no,
only
Noah,
one
Noah
who
doesn't
teaches
really
him.
know much.
No, doesn't
It's
really know
not.
anything about him. Yeah. So anyway, you have that you can have this great story about this sort of old order and the old teachings versus like what's needed now in the present day, and sort of, and you, with that you've got kind of a great parallel with the current day. I mean, especially in America, they run under a constitution that's hundreds of years old, and is the only country in the world that hasn't changed their constitution. And I'm like, this is perfect. You have a great parallel here of, apes now and apes then, and what ideology works today, and a big conflict with that. So
Yeah,
human battle conflict stuff, I'm really surprised we're going back to that. And obviously, like, the next film could be great. I'm not saying it's automatically I'm against it or it's bad. I just think we're kind of in dangerous rehash territory now,
yeah.
which is like, why
I
bother? Uh huh.
When I was watching it,
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit kind of going here. Maybe they're doing
Mm-hmm.
a thing that there was two ships, and Maeve
Mm-hmm.
was part of one ship that came back a bit early, and that she is
What?
an astronaut,
Okay.
and that like the
Right.
reason she knew all this knowledge was because she was kind of like, oh, this is like I knew this would be here
Mm-hmm.
just because of like working within the military and NASA,
Mm-hmm.
and she was trying to go and communicate to see if there's anybody out there. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
thought was happening until that literally that last scene, and then I'm like, no, no, this isn't better. I don't
Yeah.
like going back to humanity being there.
Yeah.
I'm like, and the
Mm-hmm.
idea is that they're like you're talking about that hubris thing. She literally gives a speech at the end where like we were the
Mm-hmm.
dominant species, we deserve a second
Mm-hmm.
chance. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, you're just doing the
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
broken record
Gary
here.
Oldman, is that you? Like,
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking, and I'm like,
Oh.
I mean, that scene was great because it is a kind of realization. Like Noah's even like she's like, I don't think it can, and Noah's a wee bit skeptical, and I really do think Noah's character would turn like not like an anti Caesar, because obviously Caesar was a wee bit like, here we can live in peace if you're willing. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm chill, but I think Noah and this new human, I think they're gonna be a wee bit more. No, there's definitely no chance.
Yeah.
Like this is your
Yeah.
second chance. You've failed.
Mhm.
All hell breaks loose. And like you said,
Yeah.
I just feel it's a bit rehashing. You have a perfectly really good storyline there that you could
Mhm.
use. A really great villain if Proximus comes
Mhm.
back, because I like
Mhm.
this kind of deranged ape who kind of wants knowledge,
Yes.
but is also confused about what his possible heritage is because of
Mhm.
Caesar. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it a fumble. I might call that's what I think. That's what a good description of this parts of this
Mhm.
film is a fumble. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. It just feels too much. Like I'm saying, feel like it's gone in the wrong direction slightly, and it just feels too much of like setting something up for more.
yeah.
When I really was just make a solid first chapter and then go on from there. Like,
If
have we
I was
not
to do this
learned this?
sequel,
Uh huh.
if I was to do this sequel, I would start with a wee kind
Mhm.
of word thing that says, may open up
Mhm.
that door and let the virus in, and they're all dead. I'd be like, yeah, I'd be like,
No,
that never happened.
I
We're cutting that
I'm
out.
really intrigued who they're going to get next to direct this, because, like we said, Wes Ball's moving on to do Zelda. I don't think they're going to wait for him to do that entire production to then
No,
do another Apes film. I think
I
they'll
think
get
with the
someone
apes,
else.
I think
Mhm.
they may be lucky that how much time they've waited between War and Kingdom. I think
Yeah, I think so.
they would have to do, what was it, 3 years between the three
Well,
the apes films? Dawn,
yeah,
Rise of Dawn, and
yeah, it
War.
was 3 years for
Three,
each film.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
between each
I
film.
think they would have to keep that ball rolling and do the 3 years
Hmm.
sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I mean I
And look
don't
at,
know. I don't know
well,
what they're bringing.
speaking of, I mean, I think it's going pretty. It's looking pretty good for the next one happening, because let's talk box office like we
Yep.
always do here. So yeah, opened to $58 million, which is the second best of this sort of the entire Apes franchise. 58 million domestically, I should say. I think only beaten by Dawn. And then its entire worldwide total is $131 million. So it's almost made back its budget after one weekend, which is always pretty good for big tentpole films. Yeah, I think it's looking
Where
pretty likely that this will get another one.
do you think? I
Hmm.
think it's going to lie between Rise and War in overall.
What about maybe 500 million?
I would say 450. I don't. Garfield, mate.
Okay.
Garfield's gonna take it. Take the
Is
lasagna.
Garfield this weekend or next weekend? That's next weekend, isn't
This
it?
next weekend. This
Because
weekend. Sorry.
if is this weekend, and
If
then I
it's
think
this
next
weekend
weekend's
and
got
Garfield's
yeah.
next, well, maybe have one more weekend to kind of
Mhm.
hold it. But
Yeah, I think it'll be okay.
it's not gonna do 600 plus. I do not see it doing that.
I don't know.
I would
I can see.
I would
I
be
think it could.
surprised.
I think it could break 500 million, and I think if you break the 500 million, I think the sequel is 100% at that point because they've over tripled its budget. So I
Yeah,
think
I
you'd
mean,
be pretty safe if it made
obviously,
500.
Rise and obviously those budgets can keep going up
Hmm.
because Rise only
I
made
think
about
this
400
I
or
think
something. So
this
is
is
this
160 million, 150 million roughly to make this one.
right? Okay,
They
so maybe
always
if it
kind of
makes
stay in
500,
that region. They never go crazy budgets with these ones. I mean, I say that's a lot of money, but they never go crazy, crazy.
they're owned
Uh,
by Disney now, so they could go
They
make
could go
big
crazy,
budgets.
crazy, you know. But yeah, it'll be
Maybe
interesting to keep
yeah,
track of that. I know.
I'd be impressed if it makes 500.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I say this, but as an Apes fan, I am intrigued. I'm still wanting to see where this goes.
I
Uh
want
huh.
more. Like, don't get me wrong, I do want
Mm,
more. I just think I'm a bit
mm,
like, but obviously,
yeah.
I think they're honestly they may be kind of directing this towards bloody fan theorists and stuff. And I tell you,
Mm.
if they were doing that, they nailed it on the hammer. Because honestly, bloody coming out of that and going to Twitter, it's just the kind of mad theories. Like people were convinced they saw a spaceship in the sky.
Yeah.
I'm like, lads,
No, you didn't.
this is a film about apes. Like Charles Heston came back in the first film and actually didn't really make
Mm.
much difference. It's
No.
not that they're gonna come in and
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
much. Oh, and yeah,
Well, actually, I don't. Sorry, I was just thinking about that. Like, I don't really know if they will remake Planet of the Apes. I don't. Will they go that far?
you
Because
don't
I
need
don't even
to.
know if they will. You
I
don't
mean,
need to.
the thing is, right? See if they want to kind of keep it. If they want to go to nine, and nine
Mm,
theoretically ends just before Planet of the Apes, like
mm.
time wise, quite soon. You're gonna have to do some really weird redesigns of the apes if you want to make it canonically the 60s, right?
No, it's not. I know it's not. Obviously,
No, no, but I know
this
what you
isn't
mean,
the
but
same timeline as that. Like, this is a
you
different universe. But
you could. I mean, by the time it comes up,
well, no, because the shuttle left in what
no,
the
no,
'60s
no,
in
no. What
the
I'm
Planet of
saying
the Apes
is
film. Mm,
no, but obviously, yeah, that's true. So, and
mm.
obviously, we know that in
It left
Rise
in
there was.
2011 in this one, so.
I mean, by the time they do that ninth film, it'll probably been 20 plus years, closer to 30 plus years since the Tim Burton remake of Planet of the Apes.
Mhm,
So it definitely would not be out of
mhm,
the question. I'm doing the math in my head
mhm,
between when the original came
mhm.
out, when Tim
Yeah,
Burton's came out, and when
yeah.
the ninth one of this installment. If you're
Mhm.
doing 3 years and let's can say they continue going on, six. Yeah. Oh
He's doing the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
I
It's not
just,
unfeasible,
yeah.
Lewis. It's not unfeasible.
I think the only thing with redoing Planet of the Apes is that, see the twist, the whole ending, the great ending of that film, you kind of have to get that out of the way in the first 20 minutes, maybe, if you do the remake, because
Or
we
you
all
do
know it's
something
Earth
more
this time.
ridiculous than Abe Lincoln.
Oh, really?
Also, also, I will pay for
Avengers
whatever it
Endgame, where
is.
they get all the
Uh
apes.
huh.
Koba and Caesar are back with
Uh,
Proximus and Noah. Yeah.
See if they do that and the ninth one
Mhm.
is, I would pay somebody so much money for the title to be finally the Planet of the Apes, and that's the title. Because I'm like, you
Yeah.
need to do that. You can't just call it
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes again. It needs to be something like and now the Planet of the Apes.
Now, Planet of the Apes, at last, yeah. Well, I guess that will wrap up today's show. So, thank you very much, Kyle, for joining me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so on next week's episode, we're going to change it up. We're going to talk about TV next week, and we're going to be talking about the full X-Men 97 series, because it's the finale tomorrow. So we'll be
Yep.
giving a full spoiler-filled review for that show on next week's episode. Plus, Kyle is going to see If this weekend.
No,
Is that
Wednesday. No,
what?
I'm not seeing
On
till
Wednesday? Okay.
Wednesday, so I
Well,
might be able to
so,
review it by then. I'm seeing it like a
yeah.
midday showing. So if we do
All right, okay, perfect.
evening Wednesday, I can easily do it.
So yeah, we'll have a review for If and also La Chimera, which I'm seeing tonight. So that will all be on next week's show, but we just give our opinions on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.